Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Sure IDC podcast, the show about anything and everything. This is Lucas, and let's see what topic we can get into today. We talk about movies, songs, video games, board games, food, books, personality traits, animals, history, anything and everything you can think of. So sit back, relax, because we are just here to have a good time. Everyone always talks about customer service. Every establishment you go to has to have the perfect, good customer service. The customer is always right, and sometimes the customer service is the deciding factor to make people come back. Today, we are going to dive deep into both sides of the customer service life and talk about the pros and cons to both sides. With me in having this conversation, you know him, you love him, it is Jonathan. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing good. Thanks for being back on the show once again.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Always, for sure. What was the last time you were on? It's been a while, I feel like. Maybe not. I don't even know anymore. I'm so like blah, blah, blah.
It's been a couple months. We talked about books to movies.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one, wasn't it?
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. If you have not listened to that episode...
Shameless plug.
This is me advertising for the podcast. It's just
if you haven't seen all the other episodes that Jonathan is on, go and listen to those.
If you have not listened to any of the episodes that Jonathan has been on, what are you doing? Because I'm pretty sure he's been on like half of them. So, but now if you're listening to this one, well, you have listened to one with Jonathan. So, customer service, we've both, had our fair share, with customer service jobs. You have one now. I don't necessarily have one now, but we both have had, like I said, our experiences with that. What are your thoughts, like just your basic underlining thoughts of customer service? Like, I guess in a sense, like, are you for it? Are you against it? Do you not really care? I mean, we're going to kind of dive deep into some stuff, but like basically, what is your thoughts of customer service?
Well, I guess it's a necessary evil. Because I'm pretty sure the reason we brought up this topic was because I was just having a heyday at work. But so I mean, obviously that customer interaction is necessary for a lot of businesses. Like, it would be hard pressed to find a job that you don't interact with someone at some point. But so that customer relationship is pretty crucial for most of these jobs and businesses. But I think we've just gotten to a place where things are almost demanded instead of asked for,
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one of the main issues I have, at least with like what I'm doing now and everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, customer service is just kind of interesting in general because, and you're right, it's a big aspect of pretty much any business that you are a part of. I mean, not pretty much. Any business that you're a part of has at least some form of customer service involvement in that. And I think you're kind of leaning on something because, though, I mean, it's expected, and I mean, there is the saying that I said in the intro, the customer is always right, is a legit saying that is said. Anyone who has worked a customer service job has heard that saying.
Yeah. It's gotten to a point where some of the people I worked for are like, no, the customer is not always right. Here's why. No. But that is a very popular saying in customer service, and you want to. There's a fine line between um, appeasing someone and like just rolling over for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean that
yeah,
that
every. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Just like every so many industries that covers like food, entertainment, retail. It's just it's everywhere, and so you can almost not avoid it um in the working world.
Yeah. And even one of the aspects that we can even add to this and kind of have a conversation about it is tipping. Tipping is a very big thing that's happening nowadays. With and that has primarily, I mean, everyone bases their tipping their off the business's customer service, especially in food. But I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, food and I guess how much work they did for you, aka the customer. And so that's definitely a topic that we can talk about, actually, for sure, because that is an aspect of it. But but yeah, you're exactly right. It's kind of expected, and there is that fine line between taking care of the customer but not bending over backwards for them, or maybe even not necessarily that. I mean, maybe you want to bend over backwards for a good customer that you know is going to treat you well as an employee and as as a person that's helping them. Maybe for that aspect you do want to bend over backwards for the customer because you know that they're going to treat you well and that they're nice or whatever. And there's some people that you're like, wow, you're expecting good customer service, but you are a bad consumer, you are a bad client, or whatever the case may be. That I don't give you the time that I would for a person that actually, you know, is nice to people.
Oh, for sure. Like for listeners, I sell glasses for a living, and I am much more willing to go the extra mile for any customer who's simply just nice.
Yeah.
Um, if they're giving me a hard time, I start shutting down. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that, or no, I'm not able to.
He starts becoming
Because
a beep. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, kind of. So like how they approach me really affects
Oh yeah.
like how much I'm willing to do for them. If
Yeah.
they are super nice, I will do everything I can to make sure that they have a great experience at the store. But
Yeah.
if they come in and they like ignore me when I try talking to them or
Mm,
are like really rude and short, I'm just like, okay, let's get you what you need so that you can get out.
yeah. 100%. I mean, that's just a given. Yeah. The initial response or the initial meeting of the hello, the greeting or whatever, it really tells you a lot about how conversation interaction is gonna go. But so before we dive kind of too deep into stuff, what do you expect when it comes to customer service being offered to you, like personally? Like if you go out to eat or if you go to an establishment that, shopping or whatever, what's your kind of expectations? Like do you have high expectations being in a customer service job? Do you kind of expect that level of to match you or to interact with you, or do you like not care, don't want to have people talk to you, that type of thing?
I expect the job to be done, whatever it is. I like it when they're nice to me, because I I would never like I'm non-confrontational, the extreme. I would never do anything that feels like I'm inconveniencing them.
Mm-hmm.
So like at restaurants, I just try to like make it as easy as possible for them to do their job with my table and stuff like that. But I just my expectation is really just for them to do the job that they are meant to do. Same thing for like me and my coworkers. I expect us to do the job that we're hired to do. Um,
So you don't necessarily think that they should go above and beyond for you, but you think that they should at least, do the job that they were hired to do and treat you well. And, just at the end of the day, you go in, do your job. It was a pleasant, maybe it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst. It was a pleasant interaction, whatever. You could care less and then you leave, that type of situation.
Right. Um, I mean, so like in the restaurant example, if the waitress or waiter was to just come by and like make sure our drinks were filled up all the time and all that, like that kind of above and beyond. I know that's their job, but like if they are like really on top of it and making sure we had a great experience, then that would feel like they were going above and beyond with their job. Um, where if it's like we sat there and waiter kind of like forgot about us, which has happened to me before. They just forgot we were there. Um,
Well,
it was just like can like that's when I really irritated. But again, I don't really say anything about it. I'm just like whatever, we're leaving.
yeah.
um, so
That
forgot your original question.
well, that makes sense. I mean that the original question was just kind of what you expect, personally when it comes to customer service. But especially in the whole restaurant food industry, like I've always told people that I would not want to do two jobs in life: food or retail. One, because you never deal with people's money. Like I always, you don't want to deal with people and their money because their money, they want to put their money where their mouth is. They just want, they like their money, and they don't like to be cheated out of their money. The second thing they don't like is having bad food. And so when the money and food is together, yeah, that is a world of trouble. So I've always told people that I want to stay away from those two jobs because the food industry and the restaurant industry is just so intense because you can have the best customer service, you can treat a family or a group of people immensely well and get nothing. You could, maybe you had a harder day and you had more tables or whatever, and maybe you didn't get to to a group of people as much as you wanted to. But they still gave you, a really good tip. You don't know. That's the thing about it. Like, you always want to go into the same situation with the same, motivation, with the same, treatment of everybody. But at the end of the day, how do you know that person's going to treat you well or not?
Right.
So, food is definitely interesting. I expect, obviously, just like you said, make sure drinks are filled. Especially, if drinks are empty for a long period of time, that's a big kind of red flag there. But like you said, that's their job. I mean, their job is to serve people. And so, does that, when it comes to tipping and everything, is that like a no tip situation? Is it like the lowest tip that you could possibly go? Like if they are mediocre in their responsibilities or just their basic job, are you like a no tip person, or are you like a basic, like, oh, I'll give them $5 or whatever?
I think I've only ever not tipped once because it was a really bad experience. But for the most part, I always leave a tip. Um, if I mean, obviously, if they were really great, I'll leave them a bit more. Or maybe if I see that they were really busy trying to go around, they maybe couldn't get to me all the time, but I saw that they were working really hard, I'll still tip them. But um, yeah, I don't think I've ever,
Not
except maybe
tipped.
once, not tipped.
Well,
Because I think food industry, it's like rite of passage, Lucas. You can't avoid it forever. You have to
oh, I'm
work a
gonna
little
try
bit
my
in the food
best.
business.
Nope. Nope, will not do it. I have not done it to this day. Well, other than working in catering for a little bit, but that was different. Um, yeah, there's just something about it, and I mean, I just feel like everywhere you go is you're tipping now. Like if you're using a card, at a machine. Pretty much, if you use your card in a machine, you are going to be tipping something. Like they automatically ask you for a tip or whatever. And then of course, you're all like no tip, and they're like looking at you like, oh, you didn't tip us, how dare you? So I feel like tipping has kind of gotten out of control, even especially since after COVID and everything. There's actually studies of how much more Americans are tipping than we have been in the past. So it's very interesting. And to me, if I were to go to a food truck, maybe not a food truck, maybe that's a bad example, but like a food truck or even just a restaurant where, I order the food to go and I go pick it up, I don't normally tip because what did they do? Like, is making the food worthy of a tip?
Right? Isn't that ingrained in their like built into their pay?
Yeah, I mean, really,
Um,
you're tipping the server who is serving you, not the cook who's cooking it for you. And so you
right.
walking in and picking it up off of a shelf, or maybe they did go and get it for you. Like, is that really tip worthy? I don't
Right.
know. I mean, especially since no customer service was really given. Like, you don't even really have to see anybody in today's day and age to pick up an order.
Yeah, I
So,
don't usually tip at pickup. Um, I will tip delivery or if I'm sitting in
yeah.
the restaurant, but I
Oh,
I don't think I've ever
yeah. Definitely
tipped for
tip
pickup.
delivery. Yeah, yeah. Definitely tip
Yeah.
delivery because they'll just horror stories of whatever spitting in your food or throwing in the garbage or whatever. But yeah, the tipping aspect of customer service is interesting. I wanted to touch on it a little bit. I didn't want it to be like a tip episode, but it is kind of fascinating to see, um, you know, how tipping has been, and I think people, I think especially in the food industry, they rely on tipping so they don't have to pay their waiters more. They're like, oh well, you're gonna get tips, so they end up paying them like $3 an hour, and then they get tips. Which could be great, could be bad, but it is interesting to see how that customer service aspect kind of intertwines with that tipping. Some people, whether their customer service was great or worse, they still give them the same tip as anything just because maybe they've worked in fast food before or worked in food before, or maybe they just, have it a standard on tipping. I don't know, but it is kind of interesting to kind of see how that ties together. But yeah.
Right. Well, even in so again, my job is just selling glasses, and we do adjustments on glasses and stuff, and we don't charge for that. But I've got cash tips. We're really close to a cheesecake factory. People have brought me cheesecake 3 times
That
at
is
my job.
interesting.
I've gotten a sports drink that someone had in their car, like unopened from the package kind of deal, but
Well, I half drank it,
like
but there you go, buddy.
no. Some guy brought me some empanadas because I fixed his glasses.
Really?
They were the best empanadas I've ever had. Um, so like just I'm not saying that's why I try and do a good job because it's not. I would just like helping people, but like whenever that happens, it makes me laugh because like who just brings a cheesecake to someone
Yeah.
as a thank you?
That is
Um,
very interesting. I mean, like, I don't think that would really happen anywhere else. I mean, no
right,
one,
like
no one really does that.
it may just be because we're really close to it, but it's just really weird to see all oh, I've gotten a gift card to Trader Joe's because someone was like, I don't go to Trader Joe's and you help me out. Have this gift card that I won't use. I was like, okay.
You're like, I don't go to
Um,
Trader Joe's either, but I guess I'm going now. No.
but I will now. I got a cake. It was worth it.
Oh my gosh.
Get a lot of dessert from there, I guess. But anyway, so like at our job, tips are not expected at all. I'm gonna do like my job regardless, but just seeing the random things people will bring in because they're grateful, just it makes me laugh, and it's like really touching that
Yeah.
they think about you. My coworker, someone ordered them like a $30 meal um
What the
from some barbecue
heck?
place. Like, I don't understand why, but the things that we've received are just out there and I love it.
That is very strange, to be honest. But I mean, hey, whatever floats their boat, and if it works for you guys, it works for you guys.
We also work in the like most like the richest county in Kansas, apparently. So whatever floats their boat.
So whatever, whatever. You could just share the wealth. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want no cheesecake. I want the money. Oh my gosh, that is very funny that people do that for you at your work, because that's a very odd thing. Like people don't people don't think, oh, they fixed my glasses. I'm really grateful. Oh, look at Cheesecake Factory. I can just go over and get him a cheesecake. But
Right?
that's
It's
interesting.
so strange and I love it.
So
Obviously, because I get cheesecake.
yeah, I mean, who doesn't like cheesecake? Just saying. So, displaying customer service, the expectations, the realities, just kind of the nuances that there are with displaying customer service. What's kind of the basic expectations? Not necessarily, I mean, you can talk about it in your work, but like just kind of the basic customer service expectation is what?
Not sure if what you mean, but like just making sure that the customer gets what they need in a timely manner and um if it can't be what they're wanting can't be provided, making sure they understand why so that they're not angry, which sometimes cannot be avoided. But is that
I
kind of what
mean,
you were going for?
yes, yeah. I just meant like the overall, like what businesses expectations are for someone to who works for them when they display customer service. You know, always greet the customer. Never have the customer greet you first, like that type of thing. Or just like you said, explain to the customer the situation, as best as you possibly can, and help them in any way that you can. And if you can't help them in the way that they need to be helped in, then explain to them the process, or turn them down the best way possible, or whatever. Um, like that type of thing.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
like yeah. Um, and yeah, like what you said, making sure that every job I've had, they were like greet the customer, and so you always make sure to call out when they walk in and welcome them in.
You
Done
know,
that in entertainment industry. It's the same thing, greeting them, making sure that their experience is great, whether they're at a museum or they're shopping at a store. You want to make sure that they have a good time no matter what they're doing.
Have you ever walked in? I mean, obviously, but have you, for the sake of the podcast and everything, have you ever walked into a business and not been greeted?
I mean, like sometimes Barnes
Like,
and Noble has a weird side entrance that nobody stands by, so you can just kind of sneak in there
oh wow, you heard it here,
without being
folks.
talked to.
Yeah,
But I guess they're just used to introverts and they don't want that. So
true. I mean, have you ever? I mean, that's kind of maybe a bad question. You expect that answer to be a yes. I've walked into an establishment and not been greeted. I mean, yes, of course. I walk into Walmart
for
all the time, and the old person just stares at me. So,
oh my word,
but I
um,
mean, like, I
whatever
mean,
elderly person they have for the day.
yeah, yeah.
Um, for the
But
most part, like small businesses and things like that, they definitely make sure you feel welcome in their store.
yeah, yeah. But have you ever like? I mean, do you have like a specific like feeling or like specific memory of you walking into a place and being greeted nicely?
For the most part, I've had pretty nice people, I guess. Um, the only thing I can think of that really stood out to me was at this like store that sells paintings and stuff. Um, one person working there that day, she greeted me, and um, it was for a specific artist. So we like started talking about the artist and about his pieces and stuff, and so like her interaction with me, I guess, was really great, and we just had a lot of conversation. So that was nice getting to connect to someone over like, the art that they were selling at
Yeah.
the time, which I guess is like a salesperson's job almost, but uh, it was more conversational than, and there's this piece, blah, 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess I remember that. That kind of stands out a bit to me.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about you? Do you have an example?
Well, I mean, I do remember when I started working at the bank, and when my desk was in the lobby. Um, one of the missions of the bank is to greet every customer, and so it was kind of my non job description to say hello to every customer that came in since I was sitting in the lobby of the bank. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is gonna be interesting. I mean, I worked at a museum for 4 whatever years. I can do this, and so I always did it. It was whatever. I didn't really care. Even when I got a little busier, I kind of didn't do it sometimes, but overall, I would make sure that someone greeted them. And but then I was like, man, is this really that important? Like, I just started thinking, is it that important? And I just started noticing it as I went into businesses, and if you go to a fast food restaurant, they're not gonna say hello to you. But if you go to a store or whatever, and you're greeted when you first come in, that is a very not I mean, it's not like, oh, that's the best feeling in the world, but just like it's definitely a better feeling than just walking into the store. I mean, whether you're an introvert or not. So there's something about walking into a store or an establishment and being greeted, even if it's just like a out of left field, hello, welcome, while they're working on another customer or something. There's just something about it. So that's definitely something that I noticed. I don't really have a specific example, but I always try to be pleasant whenever anyone says hello to me. I try to my best to say hello back, not just ignore them, because that's a good human trait to have. but but yeah, I can't really think of a specific example or anything. But um
Yeah, it is a really nice feeling to be did when you go somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Now, of course, there's the expectations, but then there's the sad reality, sets in. Um, that you've been there all your life. At least it feels like it. You never get a break. You're there. You're there for 8 hours and you're home for 4 hours. You're there for 8 hours. You're home for. That's what it feels like. You just feel like you're always living. You practically live there.
Hmm.
You don't always say hello to a customer. You're not always in the best mood. You're not, always the happy, happy, joy, joy person that wants to greet every person. But yeah, what are kind of the realities of customer service?
So, as an employee, you get those people that are just furious because something didn't go their way, or maybe something happened, like in our case, to the product. And we try our best to, if we are at fault, to fix the issue and remedy something. Um, but sometimes nothing is enough for the customer. I've had people kick in our door on their way out. I've had I've been called racist just for explaining policies at work, even though it had nothing to do with them. I was just saying what our policies were on like returns and exchanges and stuff. Um, like people can sometimes be understanding, and then other times they can just about.
Yeah.
And uh, when that happens, you kind of just, like, to an extent, be like, okay, have a nice day. I'm my
Yeah.
store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's definitely been moments, working at the museum where I was like, you know what? Screw customer service.
right.
I'm just like, why? I mean, there was one time I told someone if they actually, I wanted to make sure they really wanted to come into the museum before I had them pay for it. I was just like, are you sure you want to come in? Doesn't feel like you do. Really doesn't, because you're kind of being a jerk before you even go in. Like, are you sure you want to be here? Like, go spend $40 on a steak that you'll enjoy.
Right.
Like, why are you gonna come in here and be mad the whole time and make everyone's life miserable, and then at the end of the day be like, oh, it wasn't worth it? Then go somewhere else. It's just like, why spend $40 here, $50 here, and ruin everyone's life and yours yourself when you could just spend $50 on something else that you would enjoy?
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't say those words exactly, but I practically did.
No, yeah, sometimes the customer is not always right. Sometimes they're entitled and um I don't know, the worst. But we are
Yeah.
still there doing our jobs.
Well, at the end of the day, money speaks. You know, money money is power. Money speaks power. And when, I mean, I understand maybe in a certain, if you need to get your glasses fixed, hey, maybe your work is the closest that they have. And maybe they're not the happiest with your services or your policies or whatever. But you know what? If you hate it that much, go somewhere else
Right.
and take your money with you. Why would you want, maybe I'm getting on a soapbox here, but why would you want to spend your money at a business, establishment, whatever, that you don't feel respected at, that you don't feel happy at? Why would you do that? Why don't you just go somewhere else that makes you happy?
Yeah.
Money's a big thing, and money makes the world go round. So the best thing that you could do is just to take your money somewhere else. Because you know what? It might make you happier. Just saying. Soapbox over.
It's a good soapbox.
I know, right? I know. That was pretty good. It was short, too.
Right. On the other side of things, like as a customer, it it can be irritating to go to a place where you don't feel welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, I get that a lot of teenagers are learning how to be a good worker. But I literally went somewhere, it was a store, and I was checking out. They didn't have self checkout. I had to go to a person, and she was on her phone at the register. And I walk up, and I don't like talking to people, and I didn't want to be like, excuse me. But so I set my stuff down, and like he kind of looked at me. I was like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "Yes." And she checked me out and handed me the last item, and immediately just went back and leaned on her phone and didn't say a word to me. I was like, "Okay, have a good day."
Uh,
Um, and like I get it, she's a teenager, but there are just some people who look like they hate their jobs, which I get, and just are completely unwelcoming.
yeah.
And as someone who works in customer service, like I get it. I really do. But sometimes even just okay, there you go. Have a great day. Is all that it takes to just
Yeah.
have an adequate interaction.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the realities of displaying customer service, or actually applying customer service to your job if you are in that service. Um, is people get burnt out on that super fast. I mean, they always, the popular saying, don't let one person ruin your day. Don't let one person ruin your day out of the 150, whatever people. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I understand the point of that, but at the same time, that it is it is so much easier to take care of a person who loves their life, wants to be there, whatever, than a person who doesn't want to be there and is upset with their life. So,
Right.
you can say all day long, hey, don't let that one person ruin your day. But you're just like, you know what? That ruined my day.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to remember the bad experiences um than ones that were just a normal interaction.
Yeah. I mean,
And I'm gonna dwell on that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, trust me, I remember, working at the museum, I remember all of my bad, well, maybe not all of them, but, well, actually, probably all of them. I remember all of my bad customer interactions, all of them. Um, but I'll tell you one thing, I remember all my amazing customer reactions.
Hmm.
I remember all of them. Now, do I remember the pleasant ones? No. Whatever. But I remember the amazing customer service, customer moments that I had. But I also remember the bad ones. And now that the bad ones made the job horrible, I mean the good ones made the jobs great. You getting a cheesecake. If you had the worst person in the time that you've worked at that eyeglass place, if you've had the worst person come in, sit down, and you were there with them for an hour, and you were like, I swear I'm going to do something I'm going to regret if this person does not leave in the next 5 minutes. Like that type of situation. But then the next person
You don't know
comes,
how accurate that is.
yeah, and then the next person comes in, and they might be pleasant. You're just so frustrated by this past person that you've dealt with for an hour, and now you have to deal with this person. And then it's a pleasant experience, maybe even a really good experience, and all of a sudden that person comes, leaves, comes back with a cheesecake. What are you going to think of that day? You're not going to think of one or the other. You're going to think of both of them together. Like, man, this person came in and was real. Oh, they tested my patience. And then, you're never going to guess what happened. This person came in next and gave me a cheesecake. It's
No, I'm pretty sure that happened on one of the days that I got cheesecake. It was like a really bad day with a
yeah,
customer, and then someone else brought that back, and I was like, "Stop!"
yeah.
So that's crazy accurate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way, and you know what? That's not always going to happen. Some days you're just going to have to. Some days you're just going to have bad person after bad person after bad person after bad person, and it's going to be a crap day. I mean, my girlfriend Ariel, she deals with that all the time. Usually, there's never a good moment in the day. Sometimes it's always just bad, bad, bad. But and it really, gets her down. It gets her sad, and she takes it. She's a very sweet person. I love her to death. Um, and she takes it personally. Of course, why would you not if you've been yelled at all day? She's an amazing person. She's amazing at her job, and but it really sucks when you have those days where it's just bad person after bad person. I mean, because at the end of the day, oh, I had good person after good person all day today. It's all like, okay, cool.
Right.
It's all like, oh, great. I'm glad it was a good day. That's all you say to that, And then if it's a bad day, you're like, hey, let's go get some ice cream or something. So, you kind of have to. There's just something about those experiences with the bad, the bad realities that there are with customer service.
Oh, for sure. It really sticks with you sometimes.
Yeah, but it is important. I mean, displaying customer service, interacting with customers, you really just gotta, if you're in the customer service industry, you can't ignore every person, like the person that the teenager at the thing, you can't do that to everybody. You can't just be on your phone, scan them out, and then be on your phone again. And you can't be happy go lucky with every customer either. You have to figure out what's gonna work with that customer. And so you can't just treat everybody the same, because not everybody's going to have the same, response to being there. So you
Right.
kind of talked about it a little bit, but receiving customer service, what is the expectation? And we've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but what's the expectation when it comes to, you know, receiving customer service from someone? I mean, obviously saying hello when you greet them, do the job properly. have a good day. I'm glad we were able to help you today. Enjoy your movie, tour, attraction, whatever. But what are the expectations when it comes to receiving customer service from an establishment? I mean, like, is the basic hello just good?
I mean, yeah, it's fine. If you want to talk more, go ahead. Um, but really, just be a pleasant person to work with, whether you're an employee or a customer. Um,
At the end of the day, just be a good human being.
right. That's all we ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like I get customers all the time who share their life story. Sometimes it's really sad. Sometimes it's just this fun thing that happened to them and they were wanting to tell someone about it. And so, um, as a customer, maybe don't feel the need to share every tidbit about your life. But as an employee, just be receptive if they wanted to share that with someone because you don't know their life. Maybe they don't have something to share, somebody to share that with, and you were the person that they had that day. So, but on both sides, it's really just be a decent human being.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the realities of receiving customer service? The reality is that sometimes people just they expect their every need to be met constantly, and if one thing is incorrect, the whole relationship, the whole interaction is gone. Like, it's almost like one of those things where it's like, you're gonna get 50% off of your your sale today or whatever, but you have to give your email. Oh, you want my email? Oh my gosh, I can't believe you want my email. Dude, just give them a fake email. You get 50% off. Like,
Right.
it's not that big of a deal. Well, now my whole experience is ruined and I'm never coming back here again. I'm giving you 50% off, yo. Like, do you want the deal or not? So
Are
it's
you
just,
saying yo in your workplace?
I usually do, yeah. In my
Um,
mind, at least. But that's what I'm saying. Like, some people just expect you to bend over backwards and go to their every waking call. Is that, are you supposed to do that? Like, are you supposed to, you know, be there for their beck and call and give them everything they've ever wanted?
See, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think that should be how you view that
I,
because, um, just because, no. Like, I will do the stuff that's required in my job. I will help you out in any way I can, especially if you're nice. But if it goes like beyond what I'm allowed slash supposed to do, or if you just have a horrible attitude, like I'm not gonna be as helpful to you if you're just throwing a fit and being needy uh, and whiny. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
it's like the people that do get irritated at the littlest things. It's like I'm just doing my job. I'm required to ask this personal information. Um,
Yeah.
just because that's what I'm told to do.
Yeah, and I sadly think that employers sometimes think that yes, their employees should bend over backwards, um, for the customer. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think it's definitely something that that they expect, and they're if the management team does, I mean, usually the worker is pretty good at. I mean, if you have a good worker, they're good at following policy, good at following the rules and stuff. And if a customer comes in not, wanting to break those rules, and the customer and the employees is following them, but the manager comes out and is like, "Oh yeah, well, for this one time we can make an exception." No,
Right.
that's not how the world works. It might be how this little store works, but the management team should back up the employee on following the rules, just to follow the rules and not to make the customer happy. But I mean, at the same time, you know, maybe that is a thing. Made the customer happy, and they enjoy. They'll write their little TripAdvisor review like, "Oh, I just love this place so much. I went there and they broke the rules for me because the manager was so sweet." Like
Right.
that's
Yeah,
that's that's it right there.
I don't think that like you should ever break a policy for a customer just to make them happy. Um, Sometimes if there are things that the manager can do that I can't, and I get them and they're like, just do it, then that's fine. But if it's like something that we're really not supposed to do, I've been lucky in where my managers will usually back me up in that. And like, yeah, where it's against company policy, we're not doing that for you.
Yeah.
But uh, really, in that instance, just offer the solutions you can, and if they don't like any of those solutions, I'm usually just like, well, sorry, that's the best I can do. Like,
Yeah.
your choices, take it or leave it. I'm not
Yeah.
getting fired for you.
Yeah. Well, overall, there is that importance in having customer service to the customer. Being an employee, there is an importance of having that customer service. Displaying it, and then there is a very big importance to receiving customer service from an employee and respecting the establishment that you're at, and realizing that it's not your home, it's a business, and that there's a mutual respect between the employee and the customer. And in that sense, you'll have the best customer service. I mean, at the end of the day, just saying.
Yeah, just be a decent human, and
Be
everything will be fine.
Be a decent human. So you've already kind of mentioned it. Receiving the best customer service. You personally having received the best customer service, you kind of mentioned that. You've also received gifts from people, in your job because you've had good customer service. But, I mean, I guess you already answered this question too. Have you ever received bad customer service? But I feel like the one thing that we didn't really mention was, have you ever been to an establishment where you noticed there was bad customer service the first time, and then when you kept going back, you noticed it was consistent?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is like specific restaurant location that just is never good, so you don't go back there.
Yeah. And that's an aspect too as well, is like if the customer service is bad consistently, there's something wrong.
Right.
Maybe there's a bad day. That's fine. But if you tend to go in there a lot and you tend to notice that it's consistently bad, then something is off. Maybe that's my personal opinion, but who knows?
Yeah, I'd agree. I guess I don't have a lot of like any bad experiences non food wise. At like retail stores and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't know. I was just wasn't, or I'm okay with not even being helped. I don't need my hand held while I'm in a store.
Yeah.
So if you say hi to me when I enter and bye when I leave, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had really bad experiences for the most part.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, with a restaurant that's a little different, I'll be a little more picky with the customer service and everything, but at the end of the day, as long as the food was good and you kept my drink filled, you're probably gonna get a decent tip when I leave. Whatever. I don't really care. When it comes to an establishment like a store or something, that's a little different. I'm kind of not wanting to be bothered. Like sometimes when I'm in a store and a customer and a employee walks up to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like, I'm like, oh, really? He's like, thank you. We're just looking. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm kind of like you were like, I don't really care how you treat me. Just don't treat me bad. Like, if you treat me bad, then I'll be mad. If you treat me, whatever, like, oh, they're here. Hi, how you doing? You need any help? No? Okay, goodbye. Like, that's fine. I'm really okay with that. But if you're, like, purposefully ignoring me, or, like, if I ask you a question and you, like, ignore me or whatever, so, like, okay, that's kind of rude. But at the end of the day, I just won't go there because I'm the type of person that if I get bad service, whatever, I just don't go there anymore. So, well, any last thoughts on anything?
Customer service, like I said at the opener, customer service is a necessary evil. It has its bad sides, but it also has its good sides.
Yeah.
Specifically cheesecake. And it's just something that is necessary in life, I guess.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, just be a good human being.
Like this podcast, just don't care.
Yeah, just don't care about anything. Oh my gosh. Well, we all have our expectations when it comes to customer service. Not everyone is going to have the best, and not everyone is going to have the worst. It also depends on the person's expectations of what the customer service should be like. Or you could have the best customer service skills and still make a customer mad because you didn't live up to their expectations. That is the beauty and the so-called joys of customer service. So thank you for being on the show, John. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That was a good,
love it.
Good vent session, right?
Yes, I needed it.
Oh, well, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for listening, you listeners out there. Shows come out every 2 weeks on Thursday. You can follow me on Facebook and YouTube. So thanks for listening. Stay safe out there. And remember, you don't care.